There has only been one North American roster that held an era, won the Intel Grand Slam and cemented themselves as one of the strongest rosters in CSGO history. Team Liquid managed to win IEM Sydney, DreamHack Masters Dallas, ESL Pro League Season 9 and ESL 1 Cologne, giving them the Grand Slam win in just 63 days. This achievement is remarkable, and I can't see this being achieved by anyone as quickly again. We all remember Cloud9 and the tank top summer of 2015, and the E-League Major win in 2018. But these accomplishments don't even come close to Team Liquid in 2019. They spent 18 weeks in 2019 as HLTV's #1 team in the world. But all eras have an expiration date, no matter how untouched they once seemed. We all want to perceive Team Liquid as the champions they once were. Instead, in 2025, Liquid aren't even North American, and even Tier 1 anymore. Welcome to the fall of Team Liquid. The Dutch and American organisation has hit their lowest point across their 10 years of involvement in Counter-Strike. Any talent they attempt to bring into the team falls off dramatically performance-wise, and recently they have lost to Sashi, a mid-pack Danish Tier 2 team that didn't even have an in-game leader, and an academy team in VP Prodigy that weren't even ranked on the VRS. But maybe, just maybe, things will soon finally take a turn for the better for Liquid. However, we'll talk about why later. Team Liquid started as a StarCraft clan in 2000. And eventually grew into an esports organisation. Liquid entered the CS scene in January 2015 by signing Denial, a now very iconic lineup in Adren, Daps, Fugly, Naf, Nitro and Warden as their coach. Liquid was already a really established name in the esports scene at that point, as they were already involved in StarCraft 2, League of Legends and Hearthstone. Adren was a notable name in CS Source, playing on Team Dynamic with guys like AZK and Steel. Adren even played at the first and second major in CSGO of DreamHack Winter 2013 and ESL 1 Katowice 2014, with Skadoodle, AZK, Dazed and Anger on iBuyPower. Adren back then was the primary AWPer of the team, and because of the financial support that Liquid offered, Adren decided to quit his job and play CSGO full time. Dabs and Fugly were very inexperienced at the time. They played just 3 national LANs with Denial in 2014. Team Liquid was their first taste of playing professional CS. Nitro was a young rookie. In early CSGO, he played on Area 51 Gaming, alongside players like Rush, Aria, Mo and Desi. He received a big call-up to iBuyPower in late 2014, even playing at the 3rd CSGO Major, DreamHack Winter 2014, with AZK, Skadoodle, Swag and Desi. Nitro didn't begin his career as a caller, that was Daps' responsibility. Nitro only transitioned into being an IGL way later in his career. Finally, Liquid was rounded out by an up-and-coming 17-year-old Naf. Prior to playing on Liquid, Naf played 1 season of ESEA Invite with Dazed and 1 season of ESEA Main on SKDC with Ocean and Slemmy. Team Liquid's roster on paper was exciting. The core had already played under the Denial banner for over 6 months. However, the main question was, could this lineup be the best North American team? At the time, you had CLG with FNS, Cutler, Hayes, Terek and PTR. There was Cloud9 with Nothing, Semphis, Sean Gares, Shroud and Shazam. And finally Elevate with XP3, Storm, Rush, Elige and Roka. Liquid's debut event was MLG X Games Aspen 2015. Liquid smashed CLG in a local derby, but were embarrassed by the Europeans in both Fnatic and LDLC. Just a few weeks later, Liquid attended ClutchCon in Denver, Colorado, and placed 3rd to 4th. The Americans lost to Cloud9 in the group, and were tested massively versus Talked in the quarterfinals. In the semi-finals, they had the honour of yet again playing Fnatic, but again, they were embarrassed. This became a recurrent theme for this roster. They could compete with the best in their region, but couldn't yet compete with the top European teams. After a few more shaky performances and a failure to qualify to the ESL 1 Katowice Major, it was time to shake things up. In March, Warden and Naf were kicked, and Elige was brought into the team. But the rest of 2015 was still a turbulent year. Liquid were constantly placing poorly at LANs. They again failed to qualify to the ESL 1 Cologne Major, qualified for the DreamHack Open Cluj-Napoca Major, but couldn't win a single match there. It wasn't good enough. The NA scene was gaining insane momentum, and Liquid couldn't let themselves fall behind. 2016 was about to be a massive year for the NA scene, for a multitude of reasons. Firstly, the USA was going to hold their first ever CSGO Major. Secondly, so many organisations from Call of Duty and League of Legends wanted in on CSGO. Optic Gaming, Selfless Gaming, NRG Esports, TSM, Echo Fox, Team Caliber, they all started pushing and funding NA teams in 2016. And it wasn't just NA teams. Fullen's Luminosity Gaming moved to North America, alongside Sponge's Renegades. Even Dexter & Co from Australia joined Winter Fox, and Bolts' Immortals. team houses started to become a regular occurrence. This period was also prime for FPL and Rank S streams. All the pro players in North America were streaming and racking up crazy viewership, creating brands for all players. Even the Money 10 mans were massive back then. And so, to maintain their position as a top organisation, Liquid made history on January 2016. They had signed Hiko a few months prior and now brought in Simple in a move that would define the organisation as willing to sign talent from outside North America. Hiko was really successful on Complexity, even making the semi-finals of the very first CSGO Major, alongside Sean Gers, Semphis, Swag and Nothing. He kept up his form as the lineup was sold to Cloud9, where he got to play in a further 2 majors, ESL One Cologne 2014 and DreamHack Winter 2014. At the end of 2014, he joined iBuyPower to create the NA Dream Team, Dazed, AZK, Skadoodle, Swag and Hiko. Sadly, we will never know how different that project could have looked, if not for the infamous throwing scandal. Interestingly, before joining Liquid, Hiko stood in for Flipside Tactics at ESWC 2015 in Montreal. That's where he placed 3rd to 4th with the team and played with Simple, starting a friendship and a connection that led to the historic signing. Simple started his pro career in late 2014 on Hellraisers. Simple played alongside legendary names like Angel, Doja, Markloff and Kucha. Under Angel's leadership, Simple and Hellraisers made the playoffs of the DreamHack Winter 2014 Major, losing only to NIP in the semi-finals. Moving into the new year of 2015, Simple found himself on Flipside Tactics, where he played with Blade, World Edit, Bondic and Markelov for just under 6 months. But due to his behaviour in Montreal on the 17th of July 2015, Simple was removed from the active roster. What did Simple do to deserve this? Well, after Blade lost a 1v1 clutch that lost in the match versus Na'Vi, Simple tweeted, "I can't believe players who have this much experience can do things that are this stupid," and deleted him off of Steam during the LAN. Suffice to say that Simple needed a fresh start, a new challenge, and that is precisely what the Liquid offer gave him. And while Simple was known for being toxic and a bad teammate, his firepower and drive to win was something that Liquid had not seen before. The first LAN that Simple and Liquid played in 2016 was the MLG Columbus offline qualifier. Liquid got off to a shaky start. They lost 20-22 to Simple's old team of Hellraisers in the opening best of 1. They then beat the infamous Team YP, who were riddled with visa issues and went into the event with a CIS core including 2 Polish players. It was time to rematch versus his old teammates in Hellraisers again. The winner qualified to MLG Columbus Major, the loser is eliminated. Map 1 and Map 2 were comfortable for both Liquid and Hellraisers. The Americans were down 6-12 on the 3rd map of Dust 2, but round by round they brought in the comeback and closed out the map and the series 16-14.
I can't believe I just witnessed that comeback from Liquid.
Simple and Elige played awful in this best of 3. It was Hiko and his carry that pushed Team Liquid over the line. Liquid failed to qualify for 2 out of 3 majors in 2015, but just after adding Simple, they qualified to MLG Columbus on home soil. But behind the scenes, there was a lot of turmoil, even before this success. Just 10 days before the qualifier, it was announced that Liquid were going to bench Adren and bring in Kusta to the roster. However, Liquid would not be able to field Kusta at the offline qualifier for the upcoming major, as the 19-year-old can only play for Enemy, the team that he qualified with at the event. So instead, Liquid were going to use Mo over Adren in the offline qualifier. Yeah, that's right, f***ing Mo. But unfortunately for the CSGO content scene, it turned out that Mo was unable to play for Liquid as well. This was due to him playing on Echo Fox. Due to the rules, if he played with Liquid and qualified to the major, then Mo would not be able to play with Echo Fox in the qualifiers for the following major. All of this information was public just 4 days before the start of the qualifier, and Adren was confirmed to come back just for the major run with Liquid. Despite all of this, Liquid had a point to prove at this major. First off, that they can win a game, unlike last time, and also that they can beat European teams on LAN, which were both achieved in their group stage. Liquid pumped FaZe 12-3 on Cash, and closed out the best of 1 16-11. Liquid then had to play Fnatic again. Liquid at this point had never beaten Fnatic. They'd lost 4 best of 3s and a single best of 1 to the Swedes. But something was different this time. Simple dropped nearly 40 kills and beat Fnatic 22-19 on Dust 2. Liquid then played CLG in the quarterfinals. Can you imagine that? CLG were able to beat Envy and Gambit in the groups, and there was a North American derby in the playoffs. Liquid had an insane comeback on Cash. They were down 3-12 and managed to win 16-13. Liquid proceeded to farm Tarak and co. Simple top frag for Liquid on both maps in the series. There was something in the air, an aura about Liquid. and when they played Luminosity Gaming in the semi-finals, it looked like Liquid were going to win 2-0 and advance to the grand final. Team Liquid were 15-9 up on map 1 of Mirage and 15-6 up of map 2 of Cache, but choked and couldn't close versus the Brazilians on either map. Liquid had a total of 15 map points and failed to win a single round. But at least this match gave us one of the most iconic moments of CSGO history. On paper, this achievement is incredible. Liquid placed 3rd to 4th at the MLG Columbus Major, but it got even better right on the next major of 2016, IEM Cologne. Before we continue, I'd like to tell you about today's sponsor, SkinsMonkey. SkinsMonkey is a trusted, fully automated platform that offers a quick and simple way to trade your skins. See how easy it is to swap out your old skins for fresh ones. In just minutes, you'll have a brand new look. If you ever need it, they have 24/7 live support ready to help you out. Plus, when you use the code DWEG, you'll get up to $5 in free credit as a welcome bonus on your first trade. The more you trade, the larger the bonus. Don't want to trade? No problem. You can just purchase skins directly. SkinsMonkey also gives you a 35% deposit bonus when you use the code DWEG. Plus, they have a free section where you can complete tasks to claim free skins or enter daily, weekly, and monthly giveaways. Want to try? Check out SkinsMonkey by clicking in the link in the description of this video. Liquid needed to prove that Columbus wasn't a fluke. It wasn't just performing well on home soil. But again, behind the scenes, it was a shitfest. Simple was completely homesick and was about to leave. And this was his last tournament with Liquid. They'd signed Pimp, the Danish rifler, to replace Simple, but couldn't even use him yet. And to fill the spot of a missing AWPer, Adrem was swapped for the lounging king, JDM. But remember, they still had to play with Simple, so it meant that they had 2 AWPers in the lineup. Great, right? Despite all of this, Liquid was still a threat to at least make the playoffs again. Liquid faced the French in Envy in their opening match. It was a slow start by the Americans. Liquid were down 0-5 on the T-side of Train, but they then locked in and smashed Envy 16-7. Their next game was versus the Poles in Virtus Pro. And well, Liquid choked again in a major. They were 12-9 up on Cobblestone, but failed to win another round after that point. Liquid went into the group decider match versus Nico Sports. But on this occasion, Nico was missing and Liquid were hitting. It was a comfortable 2-0. Liquid advanced to the playoffs. In the quarterfinals, they faced Na'Vi. Zeus & Co had made the grand final of the last 2 majors in a row, DreamHack Open Cluj-Napoca and MLG Columbus. Liquid lost Train to a strong Na'Vi. Simple then responded by being an absolute monster on both Nuke and Cobblestone. Liquid even managed a 13-2 T-side half on map 3 of Cobble. Simple went 20-8 and Elige wasn't far behind, going 15-7. In the Cathedral of Counter-Strike, Liquid now faced Fnatic in the semi-final. Historically, Liquid always struggled versus Fnatic. Across 2015 and 2016, the Swedes had eliminated Liquid on LAN from PGL CSGO Championship Series Season 1, ESL Pro League Season 2 Finals, and ESL Pro League Season 3 Finals. Liquid, at this point, had never beaten Fnatic in a best of 3. The semi-final between Liquid and Fnatic was a constant back and forth game. Liquid on map 1 of Cobblestone were 10-4 up, then Fnatic managed to bring the scoreline to 13-11 in their favour, but Liquid closed out just about 16-13. Map 2 of Cache was almost identical. The Americans got off to a flying start. The score was 9-4, then Simple produced one of the most iconic highlights in CSGO history. That's right, we're talking about the 1v2 double no-scope dropping from heaven. Imagine being Liquid in that one very moment. coldzera's jumping double no-scope from the previous major is a living nightmare, and now Simple has just done that, versus Fnatic, in the very next major semi-final. Fnatic gave Liquid a run for their money in the second half, bringing the scoreline again to 11-13 in their favour, but Liquid won 5 rounds in a row to win the best of 3 2-0 and knock out 3-time winning major organisation of Fnatic.
It's a 4 versus 2, it's a 4 versus 1. Crims is the last man to keep Fnatic in this.
This is so terrible right now for Crims. There is surely no way out as they toy with him. Nitro will get the finishing kill and Team Liquid will eliminate Fnatic.
Liquid went up against SK Gaming in the grand final. At this point in time, the Brazilian era had already begun. They won the previous major and were winning almost every LAN they attended after MLG Columbus. Liquid had not beaten Fallen & Co. at all in 2016. That's 5 best of 1s and 4 best of 3s in a row. The Brazilians were Liquid's kryptonite, and it showed in the grand final. The North Americans were completely outclassed. They couldn't win a single round in the second half of Train and won just a single round in the second half of Cobblestone. This grand final was a landslide. Despite this, these two major runs with Simple in 2016 are still the absolute peak of Liquid's historic success on majors, even to this day. They spent the rest of the year with the roster including Pimp and JDM, and it wasn't that great to be honest. They placed 3rd to 4th at ESL 1 New York, but placed last at DreamHack Masters Malmo and E-League Season 1, and were grouped in almost every LAN played that year. 2017 started with the E-League Atlanta Major. However, heartbreak struck again. Liquid managed to only beat Flipside and Mousesports and did not advance to the playoffs. They needed to force more roster changes. Hiko was kicked and Stanislaw was brought in. And only a few months later, Pimp was transfer listed and Twist was bought out from Misfits. They played decent, showed some good performances at international LANs, but they lacked consistency. Liquid wanted more, and once again they've shown their willingness to experiment with international talent. Stanislaw was benched to bring in Steel. And no, not Canadian Steel, this is Brazilian Steel, that had only ever played on Brazilian teams. This was his first English-speaking squad. But it wasn't enough. A few months later, they benched JDM and brought in Naf. It was a weird period in time, as they didn't have an AWPer anymore. So Nitro starts picking up the AWP a bit while mainly rifling. This is something that would only continue for Liquid. Liquid saw immediate success. They won CS Summit 2, beating Cloud9 in the grand final, placed 3rd at Starladder Star Series Season 4, and 3rd to 4th for IM Katowice. But something was still missing, and in April, Steel was benched and two-time major winner in Taco was brought forward. Just like Steel though, Taco had never played on an English-speaking team before. It's easy to picture that head coach Zeus had a lot to say when bringing in both Steel and now Taco into the team. After this move, Liquid really started cooking. They placed 2nd at ESL Pro League Season 7 LAN Finals, 2nd at ECS Season 5 LAN Finals, 2nd at E-League Premier, 3rd to 4th at the FACEIT London Major, 2nd at ESL 1 New York, 2nd at IEM Chicago, 2nd at ESL Pro League Season 8 LAN Finals, and won Supernova Malta. You might think, man, that's a lot of second places though. Well, in 2018, every second place on LAN except one event for Team Liquid was a loss to Astralis in the grand final. Yep, the legendary era of Astralis had already begun. No matter how good the results were for Liquid, the desire to win and overtake Astralis was on the mind of all of the players and the organisation. And Liquid responded by making a mega signing. In late December 2018, Liquid traded Zeus and Taco to MIBR and took Stewie 2K and signed Adren to be the new head coach. Liquid returned moving into 2019 with a full North American roster. In 2018, they came so close, but struggled to win events, but there's nothing like sweet revenge. Liquid's debut event with Stewie 2K was iBuyPower Masters 4, and it was an instant silverware. Liquid beat Luminosity and Ghost in the group stage, and took down both European giants in Fnatic and Astralis in the semi-final and grand final. Going into the grand final, Astralis were on a 17-match winning streak, and had Liquid's number every time in best of 3s and best of 5s. Unfortunately, this victory for Liquid had a large asterisk. The iBuyPower Masters event wasn't run very well at all. There were many delays, many matches from day 1 were cancelled and pushed over to day 2, as some games were played off-stream in what was meant to be the practice area. Liquid had a point to prove in the very next event, and it was the IM Katowice Major. Liquid went 3-0 in the Legend stage, beating James of Vanguard, Get Right's NIP, and Zeus's Na'Vi. Liquid then faced the Finns of Ents in the quarter-final. Liquid lost map 1 on Mirage and choked a 15-8 lead on Inferno, and lost the series 0-2. The infamous Liquid choke was back in a major quarter-final. Liquid were upset by Ents, who went on to beat Na'Vi and play Astralis in the grand final. Liquid followed the major with back-to-back second places at Blast Pro Series Sao Paulo and Miami. The event that put Liquid on the map, however, was IEM Sydney in May. Liquid didn't drop a single map until the grand final, which was a banger 3-2 win over Fnatic in front of the Aussie crowd. This was their first event win in the running for the Intel Grand Slam. Liquid continued to win both DreamHack Masters Dallas and ESL Pro League Season 9 finals. They were now one more win away from winning the Intel Grand Slam. The achievement was taken by winning ESL 1 Cologne, which was stacked with incredible teams. They had to beat Na'Vi, NRG, Na'Vi again, and finally Vitality, in which they beat all of them. Liquid won 4 S-tier tournaments in 63 days, claiming them not only the Grand Slam, but the #1 team in the world. We were already witnessing the Team Liquid era.
It's permanent. They have done what no one may ever do again. Intel Grand Slam, Team Liquid!
But sadly, just as their Grand Slam win was the quickest, their era might have been the shortest one in Counter-Strike history. Just 2 months after Liquid won the Grand Slam, they played at the Starladder Berlin Major, and were knocked out in the quarterfinals by Astralis. After this LAN, they didn't win another LAN for the remainder of the year, and in 2020, they never even had the chance to prove themselves. Team Liquid's dominance was cut short by the online era. Imagine being this North American dream team. The players thrive and perform at their best on LAN and in front of massive crowds at enormous arenas. Instead, Liquid are trapped in the online era of CS. And of course, with a North American team, they are sidelined to only playing in North America and not in Europe with the best teams in the world. Today, we all know it didn't work out. They never managed to find that spark again, even when they got the chance to play on LAN. Even after multiple roster changes, it never even got close. And while many of the fans blame the organisation or the players, I think, for the most part, Liquid's fall was just due to multiple unfortunate events all happening at once. Firstly, on February 18th, 2020, the Louver Agreement was created. It was stated that the Louver Agreement creates new framework for CSGO ecosystem with long-term league slots for teams and revenue and profit sharing which extends to other ESL Pro Tour competitions. North American organisations like Evil Geniuses, Liquid and 100 Thieves signed up. But what about everybody else? Before, NA had heaps of salaried teams. The incentive was that the teams could qualify to ESL Pro League and break through into Tier 1 Counter-Strike that way. But with Louver, that door had closed. Counter-Strike's open circuit seemed to be closing down, and this was a bad sign for organisations who were already disillusioned as esports wasn't proving as profitable as expected. As a consequence, this is how many organisations died or exited CS in 2020 and 2021. Ghost, eUnited, Luminosity, Lazarus, 100 Thieves, Envy, Gen G, Riot Squad, Chaos, New England Whalers, and Contact. A lot of them played in ESL Pro League Season 9 and or 10 as well. And then came the final straw, Valorant. Tens, Automatic, Koostar, Leaf, Vanity, Food, Crashies, FNS, Hiko, Nitro, Steel, Shazam, Sick, Dapper, Cutler, Hazed, Wardell, Sabrosa, Drone, Swag, AZK, Skadoodle, Dazed, Neptune, Relics, Mitch, Shinobi, Vice, Def, Som, Celsius, and even legendary X 1.6 Pro Fraud, now a head coach. These are all the players that moved from CS to Valorant. The entire NA scene faded, and so did Liquid's chance to find new talent when trouble began. Nitro retired from CSGO and moved over to playing Valorant with 100 Thieves. Then Twist was benched at the end of the year. Grim and Fallen came in, but Liquid were never the same. Even the NRG and EG roster fell off a cliff. It was clear and obvious, Liquid's era was certainly over, and it only took the online era in 2020 to see it. The organisation never really recovered again. They kept pushing these weird international experiences like they did in 2016 to 2018, and it just never paid off. Just look at the non-NA pickups that Liquid made from 2021 onwards. Shox, Yakinda, Rainwaker, Patsy, Skulls, Cadian, Ultimate, JKS, and now most recently Nerds and Shui. You could say that trying international talent is in their DNA, but I think it has only ever worked once, when they signed Simple, and as we found out, that was very complicated behind the scenes. They've been doubling down on a strategy that doesn't work for them, while orgs like Spirit are building up young talent from their local region to be juggernauts. But can you blame them? They tried Grim, they tried OC, and it didn't work. Just look at the NA teams right now. Evil Geniuses died ages ago. Liquid isn't core NA. Complexity just sold their roster to Passion UA. Now, they're not even core NA anymore. M80 has 2 imports in Slacks and Sin, Wildcard has 2 imports in Sonic and Friend, even NRG has Bro on their team. Team Liquid's lineup in 2025 is extremely inconsistent. They nearly beat the Mongols in IEM Katowice, Falcons at ESL Pro League Season 21, the Mongols again at IEM Melbourne, they nearly even 2-0'd Vitality, the #1 team in the world at Blast Bounty, but yet they lost to an average Tier 2 Danish team in Sashi Online, and fucking VP Prodigy, a non-VRS ranked team online in a Blast qualifier. But they are getting really close, and maybe, just maybe, they need one more small nudge towards greatness. With Alicia's departure from FaZe, I believe many fans hope for his return to Liquid. Liquid has been lacking a star rifler, and if Alicia gets his old roles back, he might just become the hero they always needed. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd really appreciate if you'd like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Thank you.